The American consumer seems to be slower to turn around, seems to be very attached to their old world way of thinking. And so they are trying to capitalize on that.
We have seen some weakness in the EV market. What do you think is going on here? And is there any cause for concern?
Oh, this is a crazy question. I think this is a completely made up story. Yes, we're seeing a weakness in EVs of Tesla competitors because they are not competing. They are just not comparable. First of all, the OEMs building those cars are losing horrendous amounts of money on it. So they obviously are giving up on those. They're either waiting it out a year or two. We've seen GM announcing that they're pushing back a plant that they wanted to do. We've seen Ford shelving 12 billion investments in the EV plant. So yes, there is a weakness. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to pretend that there's a weakness in the overall market, right? Just because that gives their whole incapacity of performing the look as if it's the whole industry, but there is not. There's still people wanting Teslas, and obviously there may be, quarters that are better than others because next quarter they may get the point of sale reduction, or they want the Model 3 Plus rather than the Model 3 or whatever. You will have those small distortions, but the overall appetite for EVs is still here. And then the thing is that America is currently not even at 8% of an EV penetration rate, right, of all new cars. So America has way to go. And believe me, there is appetite for way to go. But then the other thing is you have Europe and you have China, which is growing enormously. I do believe China will be the first country to actually be at parity between ICE and EVs, most probably 2025, 2026. So the appetite worldwide for EVs is actually growing. So just because you're here in the US, where they're always good at PR, no doubt about it, that suddenly this subject has come up since the Q3 earnings calls of all these OEMs that, there is a weakness in EV demand. No, they wish they can hide their own failures behind this screen of, it's an overall weakness. There is no overall weakness in EV demand. There is not.
So do you think then that there is a bit of weakness in the automotive market, which then means these legacy companies are pulling back on their investments? Or do you think there's something else going on here?
Yes. The problem obviously is that building EVs needs a complete shift in thinking and a complete shift in their factories. Remember always when Elon said that the real product is factory? That is what it is. So them trying to remodel existing plants into EV plants, they're learning at the hard lesson that that's not how it works. Them signing agreements with the UAW that certain plants will continue to have subsidies and will stay alive, that's not how it's going to work. So they are giving concessions to the old world and having at the same time not the resources anymore, the money anymore to build up the EV programs that they're promised. Do remember 2-3 years ago what they promised us, how many EVs they would have by now, in how many colors and how many shapes and how many whatever. None of this is materializing. So it was a pipe dream then, but it was a well-maintained and entertained pipe dream to the CNBC of this world, to the press of this world. So now by being forced to admit that they don't have the resources, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the means to construct an EV that would even be break even. Let's not talk even about profitable. And at the same time, having to cave to UAW requirements, having an international competitive market. What saves them in the US are two things. One, that the tariffs on Chinese cars are still high. So those Chinese EVs are not yet here competing the same way they are competing in Europe and otherwise in the world, in Australia, in other countries. And the second thing that saves them is that the American consumer just loves big cars. So they're still in a truck segment, they're still in a big car segment in which there is little competition just because that's the way it's always been. The American consumer seems to be slower to turn around, seems to be very attached to their old world way of thinking. And so they are trying to capitalize on that.
What are your current feelings about Tesla's position in the US EV market and then the wider automotive market as well?
So in the US, Tesla is coming up with 2 major new products, which are going to be the right moment in time. I mean, I wish they would already be here, but let's just be patient. That's one thing as a Tesla investor that you'll learn. Patience is the key. So the Cybertruck obviously is going exactly after the segment of Americans liking their big cars, right? There's something to the American car consumer that needs bigger, stronger, whatever than other countries. So the Cybertruck will fill that hole. The ramp over 12 to 18 months to 250,000 is going to help that, and the other OEMs will feel that pain then suddenly as well. Because do remember that what currently happens in the EV market, I mean, S and X is too small to be really relevant to them, but 3s and Ys, they bother them. But the real competitor for them is the Cybertruck, because that's the segment where they still make money. So in the US market, the Cybertruck will shift the proportions, will shift also the mindset. I do believe that, I mean, I love the car, but if people don't like the car, they will still recognize it. This is like, a moving billboard. Any Cybertruck in the next couple of months showing up at any red light or any supermarket parking lot or whatever will be recognized. People will take pictures of it, will post them on social media, will comment, good or bad, doesn't matter. It will be all this engagement. And all this engagement will foster Tesla's perception. On the other side, the second new product coming is the Model 3 Plus. So we are currently in this, I wouldn't call it vacuum, but for lack of better word, where the Cybertruck is not there yet. We'll have that at the end of the month of November. The Model 3 is now the last deliveries of the old model. We have at the moment not the point of sale reduction. So people are a little bit worried. Do they qualify tax-wise next April when they put it on their tax statement? So we're a little bit in this shaky moment where people pretend or want to wait, still hope for some price cuts. They may be wrong on that. But then the overall car market, Tesla is going to be one of the big 5. That is for sure. Now, is it important that it's number 1? Not for me. What is important for me, it's that it's number 1 in profitability. And this profitability will not only come from cars, it will also come from energy with a margin of about 20 to 25%, from the bots where the margin is much higher, and obviously from software as a service in the car industry. So given all that, I do believe by being in the top 5 car makers, it will be by far the most profitable, and it will be a tier 1 or even a tier 0.5, like Larry Goldberg calls it, provider to many others. Many others will have to choose the operating system on which they work because they can't figure out software. Many others will use a tier 1 supplier for their electric motors and powertrains. And Tesla could be one of them. So given all that, I think Tesla's position will not be like a Volkswagen who depends on 40,000 suppliers, but Tesla depends on many less suppliers, has a lot of vertical integration, and will become not only the car brand, but the suppliers to others. So the market is just enormous.